It was 1979, and the Islamic Revolution had come to Iran. Prior to that, Iran was a secular country, a friend of the United States and the West. Now, 30 years after Khomeini ousted the Shah and instituted the Islamic Republic, Iran is enemy number one. Hello, and welcome to Mideast Journal, where we focus on the topics and trends that shape the Middle East. I'm Geerges. In today's program, we take a personal look at Iran through a former Iranian naval officer. With me in the studio is Mano Bak. He took pride in helping to build his country and propel it towards modernity and freedom. But then he watched in despair as all was lost and he had to flee for his life. Mano Bak has written a memoir. It's called Escaping Islam. Mr. Bak, thank you for coming up to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very critical of the role played by the Carter administration during the revolution. Explain that.
Well, as you mentioned, Iran was a good friend and ally to the United States from Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, up to Mr. Carter's era. We trusted each other, and we had a wonderful relationship. During the Carter administration, unfortunately, it was a miscommunication, misunderstanding through the State Department and Mr. Carter himself. They were not tuned to the same agenda. Everybody was rolling their own agenda. Mr. Brzezinski had one idea, who was continuous with Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter has his own idea, and at the same time, Sullivan was the ambassador to Iran, had another idea. So they didn't have a unanimous understanding of what is going on. And that is why the sudden revolution to Iran happened that surprised the world.
But the Carter administration did criticize the Shah quite a bit about human rights violations.
That was very probably one of the key elements that empowered the Islamic Revolution. Mr. Carter, during his campaign, he picked up the agenda for his election, the human rights agenda. And of course, we understand human rights agenda is wonderful throughout the world. But that really wasn't for the sake of the human rights. It was for him to be reelected. And picked up on Iran. Comparison Iran at that time, yes, we had problems, but the problems were not that far or that much or that grave to go ahead and create that phenomenon that today we all regret for it.
So how did Khomeini do it? How was he able to organize this revolution, even though he was in exile at the time, and take over the country so quickly?
Khomeini originally went to Turkey and then to Iraq. And when Saddam Hussein was not president yet, he was the vice president, he noticed that Khomeini is a troublemaker because he was putting all the Shia over in Iraq together to go against Sunnis. So Saddam forced Khomeini to get out of Iraq. When he was forced to go out, there was no country, no Islamic country, that would allow him to go. He went to Kuwait, and finally he went to France. When he went to France, he actually gained the momentum of the democracy because he started to talk, and all the media, they were carrying his speech.
This is Iranian media or French media?
No, French media. French media was the #1 media in the world that promoted Khomeini at that time. Because he was speaking about the country, and they were broadcasting all the agenda that Khomeini was putting into the place. Importantly, at the same time, or prior to that one, Khomeini was in contact with all the mosques and all the mullahs in Iran, through the tapes, through the letters, through the faxes. So therefore, there was a very good connection through the mass, powerful country that they were poor, and they were very much indeed into the religious understanding and, of course, brainwashing.
But was this revolution about religion, or was it about economic equality?
If you listen to Khomeini when he was coming, he was saying that we are a rich country. Allah has given us oil, and oil is money, and we are sending this to the strangers outside. You people, you do not have to work. The oil money should become the paycheck monthly to your door. You don't have to pay for the gasoline. You don't have to pay for the electricity. He mesmerized the people that, hey, why do I have to work? I have got the oil God has given me, so I can use that. And that was one of the most powerful propaganda that he made with the mass media. On the other side, he was criticizing the Shah and the regime for whatever they are doing is anti-Islam, anti-Islamic. So actually he approached the country into the two segments. One, economy, the other one, religious. That all of a sudden happened.
So you were in Tehran at the time that all this happened.
At that time I was in Tehran. I was a full captain in the Navy. I had the belt of the admiral, and I was the director of the training and education for the whole the Iranian Navy.
So what did you see on the streets?
On the street, it was something that not propaganda, not anybody knew about that. All of a sudden, you see a few buses coming, the people coming out of the bus, setting up the fire in the middle of the street, setting up fire in the banks, blocking the streets, machine gun and shotgun in the street, and flyers all over, death to over the king, and that we are asking for the religious Islamic Republic. It was, originally it was not organized. Then gradually it was organized.
But all these demonstrations in the streets, I mean, wasn't the Shah's military able to stop it?
At the beginning, the Shah military were not at all interfacing with that one. Later on, they started to say that if you have any agenda of any demonstration, should be in that location only. But they did not follow that one. And later on, when it was the machine gun and the guns, so the military got involved. But
they were still powerless to do anything?
Well, they were not allowed to shoot. But by the time that they demonstrated they were attacking them, they started to shoot, and they were giving the orders that if your life is in danger, shoot. That is why, from both sides, military and the demonstrator, lots of people were unfortunately killed.
But you say that you were kind of in denial.
I wasn't the only
this.
one. I would say that 90% of the intellectual people in Iran, they were in denial because we believe we have got a strong military, a strong country, a strong economy, and very good agenda for the country. We didn't believe that the mullah would come in and with the agenda that Allahu Akbar, God is great, and change everything overnight. Nobody believed that. Not only the Iranians, they didn't believe that. The United States and the other countries in the world, they do not believe that